live.
Yay!
Live. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome once again to our little weekly shindig. Why am I dropping frames? That is not good.
Why you what?
I'm dropping frames. No, I'm not. Never mind. It's XSplit. I have forgotten how to use it, clearly. The red is not bad. The red is just online. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome once again to our weekly shindig called To Be Named Later. I am Drew. The one above me is CC, and the one above me is the mouse, or one above her is the mouse. English. It's clearly not going to become second nature until we're about 7 or 8 episodes into this, and even then I question.
I'm the alien. You should not be having these issues.
I even forgot to update the freaking logo here. To be named later. Gaming talk show.
It's live TV, people.
It's live TV. There, that's updated. Hooray! All right. And of course, I'm showing logos that shouldn't be shown yet. So, I need to put a thing that appears above the World of Warcraft thing at the moment. So we're going to start with our introductions. And Mouse, since you're at the top of the screen, why don't you go ahead and say what you've been up to?
Hello, this is Mouse Mary Jess, and this is not even my final form. I have been playing FTL, which is an indie game, which is kind of what would happen if Star Trek and Rogue had a bastard child. It's a lot of fun, and you die a lot, and it's wonderful.
Okay. Oh.
CC, you're up.
Hi, I'm Cece. I'm generic nerd. I have my fingers in a lot of honeypots, and that's not right.
Thank you, Warcraft.
Okay. Anyway, I've been playing World of Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm. Lately, I've been watching some friends play Hearthstone. It's been a lot of fun. So, yeah. Oh, and I've been painting little miniatures.
How about Drew?
So.
What have you been doing?
I'm Drew. I am the main face of Steel Phoenix TV, which is what you're watching us now. And this whole last week has been a blur, and I don't even do drugs. So I've pretty much been playing. Let's see. Started with the new show MMO Mondays, which actually started on Tuesday because the game wouldn't run on Monday. So we're now playing Aion, which I'll talk about a little bit later, for MMO Mondays. My Sunday RPG games may be going away. I will be talking with my DM this weekend to see if that's going to still be a thing. Otherwise, Sunday programming could change. And other than that, during the remainder of the week, I have been playing Thief. You didn't see me Thursday night because I went out with my friends and we spent a lot of money eating at Red Lobster.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, it was good. But yeah, we spent a lot of money. And so I came back last night. We got through, I think, Chapter 3. I think we're heading into Chapter 4. Mouse got to hear me cussing at the game quite a bit. And yeah, I've turned the game from a thief into assassin because I pretty much like to kill everybody that I come across, because if they're dead, it's not stealing. If they're dead, it's just taking what's left over. So yeah, that's what I've been working on all week, and aside from grabbing all these lovely graphics and redoing our lovely new format, I hope you enjoy it.
It's very pretty.
So let's go ahead and bust into our topics this week. Our first up is go back to CC and World of Warcraft's patch 6.2 for Warlords of Draenor.
Ooh.
All right, yeah. 6.2 is going live Tuesday. It's all about the Tanaan jungle. Everybody that I know is pretty excited about it. I, for one, am really thrilled. I actually spent about 3 hours last week just running around the outside border of Tanaan and trying to jump up as far as I can to see actually into the world. I got some interesting screenshots there. Like, that's I was really curious. So one of the biggest things that's coming with the Tanaan jungle is going to be flying in Draenor, which a lot of people have been pushing for. Some people are not so excited about. What they've done, and I actually really like the way they've done this, is that you have to get this big meta achievement before you can actually fly. You have to get the Draenor Pathfinder achievement. you have to explore all the zones, collect 100 treasure, get the Draenor Lore Master, securing Draenor achievements, and you have to raise the 3 Tanan Jungle reps to Revered. These 3 Tanan Jungle reps, they're going to be Order of the Awakened, which is the Arakoa, the Saber Stalkers, which is the Saber Stalkers, you know.
Sounds fairly Alliance.
Yeah, the Alliance has their own faction called Hand of the Prophet, and the Horde has Vol'jin's Headhunters, which is going to be... I like that they've split those factions up, and I do like that you have to do all of this stuff before you can fly, because otherwise you miss out a lot in the game. You miss out a lot in just the little things. Traveling from one place to another, you're going to miss out on some of the landscape or the cuter little details, and, you know, the devil's in the details. That's not the right phrase either. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Initially, when you get this achievement, you're going to get the Soaring Sky Terror, which is going to be its own mount. It's a Rylac, I believe. And you won't actually be able to fly until a small follow-up patch, where once you get this achievement, all of your characters will be able to fly in Draenor. So you don't have to do that with every single character, getting the rep up and exploring everything and the lore master and everything. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The Tanan Jungle itself has a lot of cool new battle pets. There are a lot of different regions. It reminds me a lot of, say, Timeless Isle or any of the previous post-endgame kind of regions where you just go around and you focus on building up rep. There are a lot of very different regions. So there's this area that has a lot of fell stuff. There's a lot of stuff that has lava in a different area. There's one that's just the Iron Horde. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to being able to run from place to place to place and see how everything changes. It's a wild realm. The ground, there's going to be vines coming up from the ground and attacking you, which is kind of terrifying. I like that. Something they're adding is shipyards to your garrison. That's going to be a lot of fun. When 6.2 goes live, you're going to get an achievement in, well, not an achievement, a quest. You're going to start following a quest line from your garrison, which is basically about building your shipyard, and then you start actually invading Tanan, because that's the Iron Horde's base. And from that point, you can build up your shipyard to be level 2, level 3. There's a special resource that it needs, oil. It's weirdly real world in that way. Suddenly, everything actually needs oil to work now. Kind of worrying.
Well, I think they started that with Pandaria, because I think I forget what the later patch was called for that, but when the Alliance and Horde invaded that one area of Pandaria, I believe oil was one of the resources in that particular in that contest there between the two of them.
Yeah.
I should have a map open, but I don't.
Yeah, you should. Why aren't you doing your homework?
Don't start with me, buddy.
Shame you.
I'm excited about the shipyard because you get to train sharks and you give them guns.
Oh, God.
I'm just so excited about that. Sharks with guns that follow and help defend your ships when they're out on missions.
Oh, my God.
That is more than enough reason for me to build a shipyard right there. Like, I don't need any other reason. Just sharks with guns, I'm down.
So basically you turn into the evil overlord's wet dream.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
I'm having a moment right now.
And, my main is a blood elf, so, she's not exactly the nicest person. Mana vampire.
Oh, my characters are worgans. We live for the feasting of the blood.
Yeah.
I have no character because I want to have a life.
Aww.
There's so many hours in a day. I tried WoW. I started getting very addicted to it, so I had to drop it and then of course I picked up City of Heroes immediately afterwards and see how that turned out.
Yes, Mouse has very distinct opinions about all things MMO.
No, it's not. It's just a personal preference. I like to be able to come back to my games. I don't like the idea of going back to my games and finding out that the company has taken their toys and gone home, and I will never be able to see my game again. So
Well,
And-
that's one of the reasons I like WoW. It's been live for 10 years.
true.
You know, those servers aren't going down anytime soon. And it's actually one of the reasons I'm perfectly fine with paying a subscription fee, because it keeps the servers running. As long as you keep giving them money, they're going to keep those servers up.
True.
Well,
They're not NC soft. That's all I have to say. They're not NC soft.
it's
So
not NC soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more
I'll
prone to
touch
trust
on them
Blizzard.
later.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
There's
Go ahead.
also in Draenor, we've got tier 18 armor, or the season 2 of Draenor PvP armor. It looks pretty cool. My favorites are the shaman and the warlock. I can't decide. I kind of actually hate the hunter. It looks pretty boring to me. It actually doesn't seem that elaborate, which is pretty disappointing in my opinion.
I think every tier has one or two that are kind of the
And I'm always hoping for a plate mail dress, just because I like to put my paladin in a dress.
I would kill to have a warlock garb that wasn't a dress.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. I like. There's also time walking, which is going to be pretty interesting. Once you reach a certain level in the game, you're going to be able to go back to lower level dungeons, and you're going to suddenly find that your gear has been stripped down. So these dungeons are actually challenges again.
So you did a time warp.
Now,
Yes.
I want to know, is that going to be mandatory, or can I still go in and raffle stomp? Because I want to raffle stomp dungeons once I've beaten them before.
I think these are special events, and so it's going to be a certain time period when that happens.
Okay, because I don't want to go back to freaking Halls of Lightning and all of a sudden it's a challenge to me. Oh no! I beat Halls of Lightning solo, and I want to keep beating Halls of Lightning solo.
So it's one of those events that remember when you used to suck? Now you can relive that all over again.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I remember when
Apparently
I
it's
when I
just
team with others.
From what I've seen, they just say dungeons. They don't say raids as well. So I, for one, love to go back into old raids and just be like, oh, look, this mount that has such a terribly low chance of dropping, well, I can just go to that boss, fight it, and then I get the mount or I don't. And if there's only one of me, I have a much higher chance of actually getting it.
Yes.
If the party gets it,
That reminds me, I'm going back to Encourage in the very near future and kick its butt.
All right, so that's pretty much WoW 6.2. They've got a lot more information in your Battle.net browser if you want to look that up.
All right, then our next up, and let's hope I hit the right button on this.
It's
Nope, I didn't. Haha, I did it wrong. It's Warhammer 40,000.
All right, so again, that's me, because I paint them. But anyway, so in 40K, the new Space Marines Codex has dropped today at noon in your particular time zone, if they're still doing that.
Uh-oh.
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 Dead air! Dead air! Quick!
We lost her.
Uh-oh.
Ah!
She's back.
I'm back. Sorry.
Mild panic.
Sorry. Okay. New Space Marines Codex is dropped at noon in your time zone if Games Workshop actually does their job. We had a problem one time where the Memphis distribution center did not actually get out their codexes for about a week later, and that was the 7th edition rule book. It wasn't just any codex. So that was a serious problem, people taking off during lunch to do that kind of thing. So that's really, really not okay. So if Games Workshop actually does their job for once, that's when it's dropping today at noon, or has dropped, depending on where you are. So about the new Space Marines Codex, there's a lot of people who are really, really happy and a lot of people who are really, really pissed off because it is so, so much better. Everything there is stronger. I mean, sure, they took away a couple of rules on a lot of things, but almost everything is just a little bit better. Things like dreadnoughts have 2 extra attacks, which is pretty crazy if you're actually following it.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of people were saying, have the Black Templars, are they going to have their own codex? Nope. They're included in this one as well. But this book is so unbalanced, and it's making a lot of people angry, a lot of people excited. some people are saying, well, yeah, the latest Eldar Codex, the Eldar Craft Worlds Codex, was pretty overpowered as well. And so they're saying, well, they're hoping that maybe they're just bumping everything up at that scale. But the Space Wolves and Blood Angels Codexes came out not long ago. Now, Space Wolves and Blood Angels are a sub-faction of the Space Marines. But their codexes came out, and they're following the old rules, so they don't get all these new benefits. It's pretty weird. I, for one, do not envy any rules person who's going to be like, well, I brought this dreadnought from the main thing, but I'm playing with the Space with the Blood Angels, and and the orcs haven't been the orcs are in the same thing as the Space Wolves and Blood Angels as well. It's just I mean, they have such crazy stuff. Everything is dropping dramatically. There are specific formations where you can take you can have up to, I think it's 10 units in one thing, and you get a free tank of a specific kind of tank, like a free rhino or something with each unit. A free tank. So you can save hundreds of points in this point-based game just by running that one thing. That, I think, is it could be seen as an unfair advantage depending on how you're playing it. So I, for one, am a little bit wary of this new codex. It's crazy. But Dark Angels is going to be coming, so we're going to see if they're going to follow more along the lines of the old, of the Space Wolves and Blood Angels. Dark Angels are also a sub-group of the Space Marines. We're going to see if they're more like the Space Marines or if they're more like the Space Wolves. They're thinking it might drop on the 4th of July. Watch for pre-orders on June 20th or 27th. And a side note in the world of fantasy, I don't play fantasy, but a lot of people have been excited about the Age of, and I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, Sigmar. It is not going to be the new 9th edition. 8th edition basically blew up the entire world. And so people are saying, oh, is this the new 9th edition? No. Games Workshop has said no. It's geared towards getting new players into collectible miniatures. And there's not really a lot of other info. Games Workshop is hiding their hand pretty well on this, so we just have to wait to see what's coming up with that.
Sounds like a surprise in a way.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, sounds good. Anything else for Warhammer then?
Not that I have written down.
I don't play it, so it's just,
yeah. Yeah, I think I'm the only one in the broadcast who does.
Right.
And then there are times when I play a lot and times when I don't play as much.
My husband used to, but he ran out of money.
It's so expensive, and the models are just so expensive. I think that's why they're trying this Age of Sigmar, because people see the game and they say, oh, well, I might be interested in playing that if it didn't cost several $100s. Like, for example, I just got a couple of models as a gift of a particular army, Sisters of Battle, which is basically nuns with guns, which makes me so happy. Like, they have this Exorcist tank, which is a pipe organ filled with missiles glued to the back of a tank.
Oh my god, that's outrageous. I love it.
It's amazing. It makes me so happy. I don't even care if I'd be good at playing the game. I just want to play nuns with guns. But it's an all-metal army, and it's so expensive to buy all these little metal figures. You know, if it's $30 per figure and you need 50 for a tournament, I mean, what are you going to do? So it's,
you turn to a life of crime.
I think that's why they're looking at Age of Sigmar, and if it works out for fantasy, I'm hoping that they might try to do something similar for 40K. I think they're just going to see. We just have to wait and see what's happening. And again, Games Workshop is not exactly known for good business practices, so they may just decide that let's just keep upping the price of all the models. I don't care if there's 3D printing. Let's just make the models more expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you can already buy counterfeit models.
I almost wish that we all sat here in habits and we could kill ourselves down with guns.
Yeah.
All right, then. Next up is Mouse with Technobabylon.
All right. Now, let me give you... Oh, give me 1 second. I'm going to plug the link at one place. There we go.
Plugging up.
Ta-da! All right, so... first things first, Technobabylon is published by a company called Wodget Games, and they've been around since 2006, and it was founded by Dave Gilbert. I don't know if any of you played adventure games in the 90s, you know, during the golden age of adventure games. But around 1998, people started saying, oh, well, adventure games are dead. Nobody buys adventure games anymore. And that's around the time that Sierra shut down its adventure game operations, etc. And as far as everyone was concerned, the genre was dead. Deader than disco. However, there was a little bit of an underground movement going on. People started creating their own programs to create adventure games. Like the Wintermute engine, which is a really good engine, but it's not updated anymore, and the really good one called Adventure Game Studio. And so these people started doing monthly contests for adventure games. Sorry, no, yearly contests of you make an adventure game in 1 month. And you show everybody what it is. And so in 2006, Dave Gilbert created a game called the Shiva, which features a rabbi who is who's in the middle of a detective case, and it's actually a very good game. And I guess that it was so well received that Gilbert said, "Why not make a company out of it?" 2006, Wodget Games is founded, and the first game of the company officially, the Blackwell Legacy, came out, and it's an okay game. The series eventually, throughout the years, grew out to be an incredible series. The writing, the art assets, everything became extremely well polished. And now at this point, Wodget Games can now publish other people's games. And this game, Technobabylon, which was released earlier in May of this year, is actually published by them. It was originally released as a freeware episode that was supposed to be 3 different games. But it was so successful that Wodget decided to take it under its wing, give it a new coat of paint, give it a professional touch, and it was released in May. And this game is fantastic. It takes place in a cyberpunk setting. For those of you who love cyberpunk, I love cyberpunk, and it has a little bit of the Blade Runner aesthetic going on too. So it's like cyberpunk noir. They already did an earlier game called Gemini Rue, which was kind of like that too. Now, in this game, you play the role of 3 different characters. Charlie Regis, who is an agent who works for the city's police department, government kind of thing. And the city is controlled by this all-knowing, all-seeing computer called Central. And then you have his partner, who's Max Lau, and another girl who seems to have a very uncanny ability to connect with machines through wetware, and her name is Latha Sesame. And I can't say much because that would really spoil all of the really good writing in this game. But it becomes this very high-stakes intrigue. And the characterization is just fabulous. It has some of the best writing I've seen in a game in a long time. And that includes a lot of the games that people say have fantastic writing, like the... oh, God, I'm forgetting the name. Elizabeth? CC. Elizabeth? Book Elizabeth? You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I do Elizabeth.
Booker and Elizabeth, first-person shooter that takes place in Colombia, for crying out loud. You don't remember that, Drew?
What was I? Was I supposed to be remembering something?
No, it's the game. Oh yeah, BioShock. Okay, BioShock Infinite.
Oh,
yes.
I don't know what you're asking me to remember.
Characters, BioShock Infinite is supposed to have really good writing. Well, this is even better. The story is tight. One of the good things that has come from the adventure game renaissance, as I like to call it, because nowadays we have adventure games coming all over the place. Throughout the mid-90s, puzzles became very, very obscure. A lot of the games became about the puzzles. And you had this crazy moon logic, where you had to combine bizarre objects for even bizarre even more bizarre results and for completely nonsensical reasons. Well, that's been done away with. Most of the puzzles that you will encounter in Wajidai games and in modern adventure games such as the Deponia series. I love Daedalic. Deponia sucks, but Night of the Rabbit, and other things like that, they're more logical. And in Technobabylon, there were very few times where I actually got stuck. There were just times where I had to sit back and think, well, this is going on. What do I need to do to get past this? What needs to be done? And the answer comes very quickly, too. The voice acting is very good. The art assets, now, this is old school style adventure game, so it's old pixel art, but it's gorgeous pixel art. It's simply beautiful. The animation quality is very, very high. It is definitely a game I would recommend. You can get it on Steam, and you can get it on GOG.com, that's GOG.com, for about $14.99, and I definitely recommend it. And I recommend that you get the Blackwell games, too, the Blackwell series from Wajidai Studios.
Well, the great thing about this renaissance in writing, I think it's funny because you hear people talk about how games are getting boring nowadays, and it's really just the big names. If you actually look into gaming, you find these indie gamers, these indie companies that have wonderful, wonderful products that they're coming out with all these really creative ideas, creative mechanics, creative storylines, and these fascinating and really compelling characters. So I love the indie gaming industry, and I really am looking forward to seeing what's coming up next.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, I keep trying to get Drew to buy this game. It's like, you have to play it. You have to play it. Really.
For those who are in our chat, we may not talk very often in the chat, and we may not necessarily respond very often.
But we see you.
But we see you. So don't think we're ignoring you. Are we done with Technobabylon? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. Next up is Aion Upheaval. Just as WoW is coming out with a patch on Tuesday, Aion Upheaval is a new patch that is coming out. I cannot recall, honestly, if it's coming out the 16th or the 17th. I had a note on it somewhere, but I believe it's the 17th, actually, which will be Wednesday. This will be introducing two new realms, Signia and Enshar. These are aquatic themed, which is actually somewhat funny considering I've recently left active play in Rift, and Rift just had an aquatic themed upgrade. So we're going to have an aquatic themed upgrade with Aion. These zones are going to be aquatic themed, dotted with some sand-swept dunes, some spindly forests, treacherous bogs. Supposedly these are lands that hold secrets best left forgotten. You're going to continue your battle against the dragon known as Baritra. There will be two new raids, one being Stone Spear Reach and the other being Dragonspire Depths. There's going to be a reworking of the Stigma system. It's supposed to be a simplification where you'll be able to pick up to 6 Stigma abilities, which will in turn unlock a 7th related Stigma ability based off of your other selected Stigmas. And there's going to be 3 new sets of gear: Dark Lord, Sea Feast, and Wave Song. I do believe my comment on one of them was it made it look like you were Aquaman's bitch.
No. It kind of looked like Aquaman went to Lady Gaga for some image consulting, and that's what came out. It really does. It is. It is the gayest Aquaman I've ever seen, and I'm gay, by the way. But it is. He's like, it's fabulous. It's totally fabulous. It's just fabulous.
But let's be honest, Aion does run the gamut in terms of armor gear from leather fetish to chibi kawaii. So it's
sometimes at the same time.
Sometimes at the same time. So to see, Aquaman's, sexual lingerie is just nothing shocking, I suppose. So I came back. I honestly came back to Aion a couple months ago because I noticed that it had upgraded to Steel Cavalry, and they had introduced two brand new archetypes. And so I was really excited to play that, and then I kind of put it aside because I was playing on my laptop, and my laptop does not do it justice when it comes to the visual glory that is Aion.
Is it that good?
I think it's very pretty. In fact, when I first got it, you can ask my friends who live in Wisconsin. The thing I kept calling it was the pretty. I never called it Aion. I called it the pretty. I'm going to go pay the pretty. But the problem is I was stuck with my gunslinger at level 34 and my archer at 35, and they are functionally the same type of character. And I was doing the exact same content. I was tired of it. And when they announced Upheaval, I finally said, you know what? I really have to get to a max level character. I've got to push through. So I finally gotten my gunslinger up to level 41, and I'm making the great big push. That's why I'm featuring it on MMO Mondays, is because I wanted to give it a couple of weeks, I say weeks because it's once a week. I wanted to give it a couple episodes to show what it was prior to the expansion, and then there'll be 3 episodes post expansion. So I'm hoping to get to the point where I can actually show the new realms with the current character without having to cheat my ass off. Because, well, then again, I do cheat my ass off quite a bit.
You do. You're one hell of a cheater.
I believe in God mode. I'm sorry. I play a game to see the storyline, not to be challenged. I'm sorry.
Actually, I kind of did that with Bioshock Infinite. Not because I'm bad at first-person shooters. I'm actually quite good at them. But that's one game that I felt had too many action sequences in between story points. So I would go in and suddenly I would be ambushed and I go, oh, screw this. Come on, I want to know what happens next. So God mode, plow through. Okay, I want to see now what happens. Actually, that's one of the reasons I don't think it was a very good game, is because I felt punished by the action sequences. It's like, oh no, you do not get to see this. Oh, you will stay away, kind of thing. But anyways, back to Aion.
Well, but in all fairness, it's kind of hard to cheat on an MMO, so...
Yes, it is kind of hard to cheat on an MMO. So if you manage to cheat on an MMO, you've got skills.
When I say cheat...
Not get thrown.
When I say cheat, it's a matter of I'm not averse to... When it says, go find this, I'm like, well, where is it? Look it up. There it is. Okay, I'm going straight there.
You're not talking about botting, which, in my opinion, is... not okay.
That's not okay.
Never bought. I do not.
No,
I don't.
not okay.
I don't go and do something that's going to actually risk my account ever. So
you just look for the walkthrough.
Yeah, I will walk through like there's no tomorrow. And if I, for example, for Aion, I literally looked up fastest way to level. It says, do this. Okay, I'm going to do that. Oh, look, it's fast.
Yeah.
So I will read guides and walkthroughs to, yeah. Mm-hmm. I will never bot, so.
Although sometimes you are a little bit so absent-minded, you could be a bot. When you're tired and playing tired, that's what I'm saying.
Well, see, if I play tired, I don't bot because I stand there and I start doing this.
Okay, so you're a faulty bot. No scripts are perfect.
So moving on from Aion, the next big announcement has been Wildstar announcing that it is going free to play. And as I said when it was first announced, I wish I could say I'm shocked. I'm totally not. This is a game that they ironically said that it's been the plan since inception. They should have launched it that way if that was the plan since inception.
God, I hate that.
But it was inevitable. It was coming. I knew it was coming. Wildstar does not seem to be gaining the popularity that it was probably hoping for, and it has a lot of competition coming out in the near future, especially with Blizzard's... what's Blizzard's new one?
Are you talking about Heroes of the Storm, or are you talking about the new one that's...
New one.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
I don't remember it either, but it's visually identical. It's a similar type of concept. I think it's different. It's not quite an MMO, but I think Blizzard's going to blow Wildstar out of the water. But regardless, Wildstar is going free to play starting this fall. Even the game itself will be free. You will no longer have to actually buy the game, which makes those of us who actually paid for it schlubs.
Yeah. No. It's yuts.
Okay, fine. We'll be yutzes. The current people who subscribe, such as myself, because even though I don't play it, my money still goes flowing into it for some god-awful reason. We will be converted over to what are known as signature accounts. Then active accounts, which are pretty much any account, I guess, because any account is free and that makes it active.
Active?
They use terms in their explanation that don't make sense. They'll be getting loyalty points based off of the type of purchase game client that they have, whether it was a standard or a deluxe, number of months subscribed through recurring payments, creds, or game time cards prior to going free to play. Additionally, there's going to be a reward for those who were continuous subscribers since Wildstar's launch. You'll be getting some exclusive pets, an exclusive mount, some exclusive house decorating decor, music, etc. and so forth. 2 new titles, but if you weren't playing since launch, you get only a handful of those. So... And then on their website, they of course have the great spreadsheet that explains what's the difference between free and signature, free and paid, which covers everything from if you're free, you can only have 2 character slots versus 12, 4 costume slots versus 6, 2 bank slots versus 5, 1,000 decor items versus 2,000. Auction houses are limited. The amount of circles are limited. No bonuses to circuit board crafting, commodity changes. Literally, there's this gigantic table. And there's actually 3 of them, depending on which item you're looking at. Just crap ton of information on even earning XP. If you're free, you earn XP at the normal rates. If you're signature, it's 25% bonus.
Oh, come on.
So, to a degree, pay to win. I would say.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sorry. That's when I go, okay, you have nothing I want.
Yeah, and when I see that, quite honestly, that is such a blatant pay to win. I said, Wildstar was cute. I don't know why. I just haven't taken it off my credit card, but I should.
You probably should. I mean, how much is that to get out?
Currently, it's $15 a month, just like every other subscription in this universe. But I don't play it. Do I intend to go back into it? I might. Right before free to play, I might go back and make it one of the MMO features. I have no idea. I really don't know. There's so many games out there that I would rather play. Skyforge, I just wish was no longer. Was back into open beta. Its closed beta is done, and I can't play it. And there's a bunch of other games, and obviously with 6.2 coming out,
I have something to tell you with that. Do you know what you could afford with $15?
Do tell.
Technobabylon.
Oh, shut up.
I was gonna say 2 large pizzas and a Coke from 7-Eleven.
That too. Or 4 giant pizza slices from Cosmos Pizza.
No. No on both of those 2. All right. So really, that's all I have to say about Wildstar because free to play is going to be pay to play, a pay to win. So let's just be honest there. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our bigger discussion, which is everybody ready and primed?
Ready.
Indies versus IPs.
Woo!
So as anyone who pays attention to the gaming community might be aware, there has been a significant surge in the last few months of original IP creators coming back after leaving their mother studios, so to speak, and wanting to recreate or create the spiritual successors to their original IPs, to make games that capture that original feel where either their mother studio is no longer doing it or has strayed so far from the original plan that it has become unrecognizable. Mm-hmm. And the 3 most obvious are Mighty Number 9 versus Megaman, Bloodstained versus Castlevania, and Yooka-Laylee versus Banjo-Kazooie. So, guys, I open the floor. Have at it.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Funding for Bloodstained ended yesterday, and they ended up at $5,500,000. They have actually met every single stretch goal, and the original budget was $500,000.
And they are, in fact, now the most funded, if I recall correctly,
of all time.
Of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And people say there's no market for that kind of game.
Of course. Well, actually, I don't know if you watched the video that Koji Igarashi made for the Bloodstained Ritual Kickstarter, but it's delightfully cheesy. It's him basically walking around this Dracula-style castle in like a cloak, and he starts drinking. He appears at a long table in the castle, holding a goblet that could probably hold blood, and he's going, the publishers of the world told me nobody was interested in a game like that, and he throws the goblet away and stands up and says, "I say they're wrong,"
and several
turns
hundred
into
thousand.
Yeah, and the game now has, let's see, as of right now, well, it got funded, so. Well, I can't see how many backers. Oh yes, 5,500,000, but it doesn't tell me how many backers it has total.
They may have broken it.
They may have Kickstarter might be going, I'm not ready for this anarchy.
Yeah.
64,867 backers, of which I am one. Full disclaimer.
Wow.
So yes, now. We've seen what Konami... Is it Konami that is in charge of the Castlevania series nowadays?
I don't know, but it makes me sad. Whoever it is, they make me sad.
Yeah.
Well, I believe it is Konami. But let me see. Just to make sure I don't want to... yep, Konami Games. So, I guess that anyone who has been listening to Jim Sterling's videos and podcasts knows what a bunch of idiots Konami has turned into. But just to reiterate, they managed to actually alienate Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. They're like the... Oh god, I wouldn't say this, but they're like the DC Comics of games right now. And their latest Castlevania games have not been that good. And it's probably because, it's just...
Well, they lost the heart and soul.
Mm-hmm.
Castlevania is actually a main feature point of some of my happiest early childhood memories, just dying in this castle.
Over and over
again, and just having the time of my life, I was terrible at the games, but they were so much fun. There was a lot of... I loved the almost campy atmosphere. It was vampires.
And the voice acting, come on, you have to love the campy voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
Not a man! It just got so over the top. It's like Hammer horror full on, and they knew it.
It's wonderful, and they lost that. They tried to make it serious, which is... they tried to make it grim, dark, and serious, and it's like, this is Castlevania. Like, calm down.
Exactly. It's like, no, this doesn't work. And the good thing is that he's as the template, he's taking Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which I think was the best Castlevania that was ever made.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And if you look at all of the concept art, and it looks just wonderful. And the final stretch goal was the one that I really hoped they would hit. It's called Boss Revenge Mode. And it's basically roguelike dungeons being spawned. I don't know if you know what a roguelike is.
Oh, I think the majority of us know what roguelikes are.
But just in case, they are procedurally generated random levels, dungeons, or whatever, so...
Very much like in the game Rogue Legacy.
Exactly. So every time you go in, you will not encounter the same experience twice. So there's bonus content. It actually has a lot of potential for a lot of wonderful adulthood memories of being killed over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yes.
If you didn't get killed enough in your childhood, now you could die as an adult.
Yeah. I never beat Mario Brothers. I just couldn't, but...
So go ahead.
Yeah. So, and what's the next IP that you were talking about?
Oh, well, like I said, we've got Mighty Number 9 and Megaman. Megaman being owned by Capcom. Megaman is one of those storylines that has been... merchandised beyond all recognition. I actually watched a video I've actually seen a couple videos from game theorists and a couple others trying to make sense of the Mega Man timeline. And,
Yeah.
and really just pretty much had to flush it down the toilet because it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But that's got your two main protagonists of rock and roll, and now you have Mighty Number 9, which has the main protagonists of Beck and Call.
Nice. I love that.
So now they're back to the simple concept of robot goes out, defeats other robots, steals their powers, defeats more robots.
Sticking to the formula.
Sticking to the formula.
See, it's funny. Go ahead.
Every time that I see something coming out by Capcom, I'm always shocked. I'm like, didn't they? I thought they were dead. I thought Capcom wasn't a thing anymore, and I know perfectly well they are. But there's a split second where I'm shocked
It's like
because I
they're
think
still-
they're not. They don't exist anymore.
It's like meeting,
the thing.
like meeting that old neighbor of yours that's always around the corner and go, "My God, you're still alive."
Yes.
Well, for me, it's always, isn't Chun-Li in that one? Oh, wait. No.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, hey, at least they have learned to count to 5 now, finally. Do you remember in the 90s, there was Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter Alpha, Super Street Fighter Turbo, Super Street Fighter Alpha Turbo Beta, Super Street Fighter Championship Edition.
That was the other episode I was watching on, where they were basically, this guy was generally bitching about sequels, and he went to town on Street Fighter.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell? Name them what they are. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Pretty much. And it was, oh God. So I really like this idea of going back to basically going back to basics. You know that Mega Man, was it Mega Man 9 that did that? Or Mega Man 10?
There is no Mega Man 9. They skipped from 8 to Mega Man X. There's no 9.
Yeah.
Okay. See, in my mind, it's 9. So because I unlike say George Lucas and Capcom, I know how to count.
Well, see, but Mega Man X isn't even Mega Man 10. It's Mega Man X.
X is 10 in Roman numerals. Shut up.
But no, because it's Mega Man X. It's X, X2, X3, X4, X5.
That's just Roman numerals, 11, 12, 13.
Except it's not a 10. He's Mega Man X.
Shut up. In my mind, it's 10. It's the only way I can make sense of it.
Well, that's one of the complaints. And then again, with the whole concept of sticking to the formula, that's the whole premise behind Yooka-Laylee. Is they were saying they used to have a bird and a bear, and now they have a gecko and a bat.
And a bat. Yeah, pretty much.
And so they're trying to recapture that old formula that was put out by Rare and Nintendo for Banjo-Kazooie.
Yes.
I'll go silent on that one.
No, it's just because I was remembering just how frustrating Banjo-Kazooie was and how good it was too. It was one of those. It was a game series that makes you go, oh God, this is horrible. The platforming just I have to finish this. I have to go want more. That's how you knew that even despite some of the issues with the controllers and some of the issues with you could not gauge very well the how well you would jump because of the technology of the era. You had a good game because if you couldn't put it down, then you've got a good game. If you want to throw the console across a room, that's a bad game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very much like Tomb Raider.
Yes.
Like the original Tomb Raider, Lara Croft.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff. And that you're like, oh, this is so hard, and I keep dying all the time, and why does Lara Croft keep diving into the ground every time I jump off something?
Damn you, Lara Croft! Can't you see where you're going?
It's like, don't jump into the leopard woman. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Now, no, though. Right now, the campaign for Yooka-Laylee is currently at 2,900,000 out of an original 270,000. With 3 days to go, so this can still go all the way to the sky. I want to see exactly how many of their stretch goals have been met. All of them. Never mind.
They're probably making up new stretch goals as they go.
Pretty much. Oh my God, we were not prepared for this. Run!
Yeah.
And I think Mighty Number 9 is
Like
already funded and already in progress. If I
Pretty
recall
much.
correctly.
So, this is something I've always, even when I was reading about how the adventure genre was dead, and no, I don't think there is such a thing as a dead genre. I just think there is such a thing as dead bad writing. I mean, look at the
bad marketing.
And bad marketing.
Bad gameplay.
Even in movies, people assume, oh, the silent film is dead. Look at The Artist. That won the Oscar, 3 years ago? It was a fantastic movie, completely silent, except for like one line at the very end. And it was a silent film. It shows that, honestly, whatever genre is out there, you can make it work. You just need to be good at it. And all of these AAA companies that go, oh, well, there's just no market for it. It's essentially shorthand for, we're shit. We don't know how to do this, so we're blaming it all on you.
And again, we're gonna say this pretty much several times. I think it was Jim Sterling who said, "Thank God,
for Jim Sterling."
But I think it was Jim Sterling who made the comment that the AAAs are if you can't make a little money, then fuck it.
Yes.
Pardon my French. Fuck it. They'd rather, if you can't make all the money, then we don't want to make any money.
Yes. It's honestly, that's not even how capitalism works. That's the stupidest thing. Honestly, you should be happy to make any money at all and to just have any constant stream of money, no matter how small, because it adds up in the long term. Playing this whole, oh well, if we can't have like all the money in the world, we're just gonna get rid of it. It's the dumbest, most short-sighted idea in the whole wide world, which is why the AAA companies are in so much trouble right now.
I mean, you're always going to have the fans who are the most passionate. And this is kind of one of the things we talked about last week when we were talking about the day one DLC bullshit. You don't penalize your most passionate players. You reward them.
Exactly.
Because that's what makes them more passionate. That's what brings in more people. Is you reward those who are the most passionate by even if it's not going to sell 1 billion copies, if your most passionates are always going to buy it, you have a regular source of income as long as you continue to produce quality games that they enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And if you do the other thing, then what's going to happen is all your good creators are going to leave, especially now that they know there's people who are going to throw $5 million at them to make the game they want to make, but you're not letting them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many people who want innovation, who want great stories, who want this, that, who want female protagonists, who want all these different things. And if you're just not ever going to say, well, let's just give it a try, and we don't necessarily have to try to make it be the next Call of Duty blockbuster game. We just need to make a good game.
Yeah, what a concept. Let's make something and do it well.
Yeah, not everything has to be assumed to be a AAA title. Some become AAA titles because they take a risk and put out something that is perhaps a little experimental, but is good storytelling.
Exactly.
It's always the storytelling will salvage damn near anything.
Mm-hmm. Except like really, really broken games.
But, well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dysfunctional games
the most
and bad
recent
programming,
Batman games.
That's idiotic. When you put out something that doesn't function, you can't tell the story. So,
well, that's just being terrible at your job.
Yeah, exactly. So you had one job, which was not to make this game suck.
Yeah, you had one job.
You have to make it playable.
Make it playable.
Yeah, make a game. I mean, if you can't play the game, it's not a game, and you can't tell a story with it. So, but you've never had a game that has salvaged itself because the UI is awesome. The rest of it sucks.
Yeah, it's like I had the best time with the UI. It's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
No one has said ever.
No one has said ever.
Pretty much, like the UI is what really makes the game. I just pull up the menu and just stare at it for hours.
Stare at it lovingly.
And
like, no, I like that I can walk around a place and not fall into a random hole in the ground just because somebody didn't get the level, the skins or I forget the term.
The geometry isn't.
Geometry and the collision detections. Oh, hello, Assassin's Creed Unity. We're talking about
slip through a hole in the ground into nothingness, which apparently has happened. Like, I saw a video of The Witcher where apparently if you jump roll things just right, you can get under people's houses, and then you run like 2 feet and then you fall into nothingness.
That happens too in Assassin's Creed Unity, and you see people. You see people go karting in Assassin's Creed Unity. Like, walking animation screws up, so they're sitting on the ground, but they're moving. Yeah. It's like a Benny Hill skid, just walking around.
Oh, well, you should have seen my... Let's see, what was I doing? I was in I was playing Thief, and I'm watching the guards walk back and forth. And they're walking in tandem because they're supposed to be walking together. And one of them keeps walking, and the other one just starts spinning in circles. I'm like, did he get possessed? What the hell's wrong with that dude? And I'm like going, is he there? Can I actually kill him while he's spinning and having a seizure? I don't get it.
Now, okay, disclaimer, glitches happen to every game.
Yes.
But if your game is 90% glitches, Unity, then you've got a problem.
If your game is more than 30% glitches, you've got a problem.
Yeah. Even, sometimes they'll break immersion, like I started playing Fallout New Vegas, and I had the glitch where right at the very beginning, where the doctor is talking to you, and his head starts doing this exorcist thing, like it starts rotating, but the vertical axis is like, yeah, and suddenly his mouth is on top of his eyes. I was like, oh my god, are you possessed? Sir, are you okay? You need to go get something?
The secret birth of the super mutants has been revealed.
Like, no.
Alright, so shall we move on to our next topic?
Yes.
Since we're on the topic of Kickstarters, Mouse, Hero U, Rogue to Redemption.
Right. Can I give a very brief background on who these people are?
Well, give your disclaimer too first.
All right. First of all, I'm a backer of this game. I'm a 2-time backer of this game, and I'm on friendly terms with Laurie and Corey Cole, who are the creators of the game. So, that being said, that was my disclaimer. Hero.
We're all about integrity and honesty in our opinions.
Pretty much, except when I forget, and then I will just add.
And then I just remind him.
And then you remind me, exactly. So, back in the day when most of you weren't born, I'm talking to our viewers, not to you.
Yeah, because I'm older than you, so...
In the 80s and 90s, there was this company founded by Ken and Roberta Williams called Sierra Online. Anyways, they were really known for their adventure games. They were pioneers. Roberta Williams has been acknowledged by some people as the mother of computer games. Their games were some of the first games that actually had graphics. Anyways,
everybody has heard of King's Quest, right?
Yes,
like King's Quest series.
It's
those guys.
Those guys made it. Well, they brought in a lot of really good talent, like Al Lowe, who did the Leisure Suit Larry series, which is basically a sex farce. It's nowhere near as raunchy as you imagine it to be, but it's freaking hilarious. You had Daryl Gates and someone else came on. I keep forgetting his name to do Police Quest, which was basically a police procedural, and you had the two guys from Andromeda to do Space Quest, which was a hilarious science fiction, and then you had Quest for Glory, which is really the first adventure RPG hybrid that you can find in the market that it was a success, and it was launched in 1989, and it went on for 5 games, all of which had close to the similar theme. A hero comes to a land. It's usually the same hero, especially if you play the first games, and you're always given the chance of exporting your hero, and bringing them into the next game. So you have like little bonuses, and in some games, you can only become a paladin if you've already had a previous hero before that. So it creates a nice sense of continuity, and the series is very, very groundbreaking, especially with what adventure RPG games were doing at the time. Sierra was known for a lot of games that were very innovative, but also were kind of unforgiving. Like in Leisure Suit Larry or the Space Quest series, you died a lot. Actually, one of the fun things of being a Sierra gamer was that they would put in like funny death scenes and funny death limericks at the end of each death. So they made it sort of rewarding too. Quest for Glory got rid of that. In that you could get killed if you were an idiot, but more or less there was a logic to the puzzles and so on and so forth. And it really is my favorite series. Sorry about that. The Mac Mini screaming at me again. And so, well, the series ended successfully in, I believe it was 2000. Let me see. It was launched. The last episode of the series was Dragonfire, and it was released in 1998. And that closed off the series quite well. The Coles, of course, no longer worked with Sierra because Sierra was sold off in 1998. And for many years, they kind of laid low. They had a website called the School of Heroes. They've always been very interested in the notion of heroism. And they encouraged people to basically practice heroism in their daily lives. And that was what the School of Heroes was all about. You know, if you're a bard, if you consider yourself to be a bard, how are you going to be a bard, in a heroic way? You know, how are you going to entertain people, etc. So it was pretty neat. And about couple of years ago, well, 2 years ago, they decided, seeing the success that, say, Tim Schafer had with his Kickstarter and Jane Jensen, who created the Gabriel Knight series, she also had her own crowdfunding ways, etc. Seeing that all of these Sierra creators were coming back, they decided, well, why don't we? Because they've always wanted to create a game closer to what they wanted without a lot of the publisher intervention as well. And that is basically the idea of Hero U, which is basically going to be a series of games, starting with the first one. Each one is a different type of hero. So the first one is a rogue. The second one, I think, is going to be a paladin or a mage. I can't remember exactly. But it's a very, very interesting concept, and I definitely recommend that you go take a look at their Kickstarter page. They did a successful Kickstarter campaign about 2 years ago. And
was it that long ago? I thought it was only 1 year ago.
Or a year ago. I have CRS. I can't remember stuff. But it was 1 year or 2 years ago. And what happened was this. Originally, they had a much more modest concept of what they wanted to do and what they were going to do. They were going to use a 2D engine that was employed in a game called MacGuffin's Curse, a puzzle game called MacGuffin's Curse. And when they come to our show, they will explain how this process happened. But eventually... Spoilers! But eventually, the concept became now a 3D game with beautiful hand-painted textures to make it a more fleshed out experience, a lot more complexity. And so they started this second Kickstarter to finish the game. And some people have complained, and they basically go, oh, well, how can we expect them to deliver for a second time? But the truth of the matter is, very few games ever stay on budget, and very few games ever, especially when you have a small budget, like they started with $100,000, ever stay in the same timetable. And this is especially true with the games from the Coles. They've always had a very, very forward vision, and most of the time, very few of the Quest for Glory games shipped on a specific time frame, but all of them were very well received, except number 4. Number 4 was hurried by Sierra. They wanted to meet the Christmas season. I don't remember exactly, but they said no, we can't ship it now. There's too many bugs. But the publisher gets to decide. It was shipped, and it had a lot of game-breaking bugs. And so it didn't do that well when it was patched. So when it is patched, it is one of the best games in the series. So they wanted to go, to be able to make the kind of game they wanted to make, without all of that kind of intervention. And now their second Kickstarter, as of today, is successful. They were for $100,000. And they are now at $104,534 with 57 hours to go. So I'm happy to report that the funding has been a success.
Yay!
Excellent. And moving on to our next Kickstarter.
The next Kickstarter is actually another pet project of mine. Disclaimer, I have also funded it. And it is a physical comic book created by Sean Ian Mills. And I had the name right here.
Gamer Girl and Vixen.
Gamer Girl and Vixen.
It's Gamer Girl and Vixen. For crying out loud, I have the name here. And Christy McDowell.
Oh, you're looking for the creators' names.
Oh, no. I know the name of the project. I'm just very bad with people's names. I know Sean Ian Mills. I know him more as the henchman from Henchmen for Hire. That's the website he runs. So I had to write down his name because even though I know his name, I went to go, oh yeah, it's the comic book by Henchmen. So, long story short, this comic, he sent me a preview, so 8-page preview of it, and it's absolutely adorable. It takes two main protagonists, Gamer Girl and Vixen, and it's going to be a lesbian love story, and they're both villainesses. And
Yay!
the art is delightful. The writing is very witty and French and very, very fun.
By witty and French, do you mean French as in the language, or
Fresh.
oh, fresh? Sorry.
The dialogue is in French.
I'm like, what?
Là, vous avez besoin de comprendre le français.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait, when I looked at this project, that was in English, I thought.
My song is no.
They ran it through Google Translate, and
Google Translate, yeah.
that's where half the comedy comes from. No, just kidding.
Oh gosh. So the original goal was $6,750, and now they're at $7,731 with 31 hours to go. And so it looks like they're going to have a successful run. Again, I recommend that you go and take a look at the Kickstarter. They have a very, very thorough sampling of pages, of background characters and supporting cast, and a very good feel for the art. So yeah, give it some love. I mean, there's still 36 hours to go. They can still go higher.
It's adorable.
It's absolutely adorable.
It's absolutely adorable. Like, I love the art. It's just so happy and cheerful. I like happy, cheerful things. I'm a happy, cheerful person.
You mean you don't want a grim, dark, gritty lesbian love story that will end up in tragedy?
I just want people to be happy, you know? And don't get me wrong, I love Batman. And I love the current incarnation of the grim, dark, gritty Batman, because he has very good reason to be grim, dark, and gritty. But, you know, this is going to be an adorable little story, and it looks like it's not going to focus on the angst of being gay, which is so used now.
Yes.
And it's not that it's not valid. It's a very, very, very valid storyline. But when every single story about your homosexual characters are super angsty and have that angst about, I'm so angsty because I'm gay, it makes it really, really hard for anybody else to see past that and to look at the actual larger story or to see them as real people, which is really what the point of a lot of this stuff is.
Yeah. Actually, I have an anecdote about that. When I came out of the closet, which CC is very surprised that I ever had to come out of the closet, because when I was a kid, I would watch Gem and the Holograms. I would watch My Little.
You had to come out of a closet.
Oh, shut up. No, okay, I would watch Gem and the Holograms. Shout out to Christy Marks. Gem and the Holograms. I would watch Punky Brewster. I would watch religiously the Linda Carter Wonder Woman reruns from the 70s.
And dressed up as
I would dress up as Wonder Woman and Mary Poppins, because I would also obsess about Julie Andrews.
I mean, who didn't? Let's be honest.
Julie Andrews is, I think, single-handedly responsible for me becoming an opera singer. That's pretty much it.
I think that's the reason he had to come out of the closet. There wasn't room in there after all the Julie got.
I needed a bigger spot to put my Wonder Woman cape. And of course I came out to my parents, and they had the gall to be surprised. But one of the issues that my parents had was, well, I wasn't disowned. They said they loved me unconditionally, etc. But they had issues. They thought that I would never be happy, that I would never be able to realize myself in a relationship, because gay people's lives were often miserable and horrible and full of angst. And it's like, Mom, that's the movies that you saw growing up. Yeah. Because if you look at movies of that featured any gay character at all, they were usually like the butt of the joke. They were usually the people getting bullied or killed, etc. So of course, in my mother's mind, it's like, okay, if you're gay, you're going to be miserable and unhappy, and it's kind of that way too. I mean, if every single story you have about a gay character deals with the fact that they're going to be angsty and miserable because they're gay and people don't accept them, that kind of creates sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, there is a spot for those kinds of stories, but not every single story, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I had a friend who came out who was very nervous about coming out to her parents. I'm straight, but my friend is lesbian, and she's awesome. Oh, yeah, she's great. I love her to death. But when she came out to her parents, she was really, really nervous about it. And she and I had this long talk about how she was nervous. And she was like, how do I tell them? And I said, look, your dad, he collects David Bowie CDs. I wouldn't be worried if I were you. You know, your parents are some of the most open and welcoming. And then she came out and she told me, she was like, yeah, it was actually totally fine. And now that I'm out, I'm so much happier. Life is nice.
Yeah,
I have no complaints.
And he gave her the David Bowie CDs.
Oh yeah, he gave her all his David Bowie CDs.
I think part of the misconception of homosexuality being dark and oppressive is because of the necessity of hiding that was so dominant in the culture, but has gone away. It's not completely gone, unfortunately, but it has gone away to where there's a lot more openness and a lot more acceptance in society. So gay does not necessarily equal emo. Two different kinds of things. You can have a gay emo and you can have, but they're one is not the exclusive property of the other. Oh, yeah. So, you don't necessarily, and again, it goes back to the conversation we were having last week. You can have the tragedy and you have to contrast it with comedy. You make one stronger by contrasting it against the other. Mm-hmm. So, there we go.
And in the comics, they do touch upon the issue of one of the characters not wanting to come out because of the things that happened with her mother, but it's not this overflowing river of angst. Mm-hmm. It's handled very well.
Which I think it would be a good. I just really like that, and I think it's a great step towards including gay characters in various aspects of geek culture.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we move on now to our next topic?
We shall.
Our next topic is all about Steam. Let's start off with the Steam refund policy.
Okay, so we know that one of the things that Steam has lacked for a long time is a good refund policy, and by good I mean one that is actually there. Yeah. Previously, if you wanted to get a refund on a game, you had to go through contact support, rigmarole, and most of the time you would not get your refund. So
if you're one of the poor saps who bought Air Control.
Or the slaughtering grounds.
Grounds.
Yes. So now Steam basically has this policy that you can return a game that you have bought within the last 2 weeks as long as you have had less than 2 hours of play on it for any reason whatsoever. Now, I know that the policy itself can be abused, and it will be abused, but I think this is a very important first step in establishing a good marketplace in Steam, because, let's face it, there's a lot of crap on Steam. A lot of crap, and they're not doing oversight because, well, they would need an enormous army of people to do quality control on everything they do.
Well, again, I mean, take a look at the fact that you've got at least 3 Steam games out there that are virtually identical because they're simply Unity assets repackaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, Jim Sterling, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, God.
Thank God.
Pointed them out. They're all freaking identical. You've got your zombie apocalypse Minecraft-looking things running around. All 3 of them, the same damn thing. And the only way... originally, somebody buys it and goes, oh, look, something new. And then they realize what they've got. And they're like, well, crap.
Exactly.
How do I get rid of it now?
And basically, it used to be, oh, no, sorry, you cannot return anything.
I just want to be able to return a game I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even have to be one of those terrible early access games that aren't actually meant to be finished, that are just abusing the early access system. It can just be, I don't know, I haven't played The Witcher 3. I've heard actually a great deal of wonderful things about it, but if I say bought The Witcher 3 in the Steam sale that's going on right now...
and you have buyer's remorse.
And then I start playing it, and I'm like, wow, I really hate this Witcher guy. I'm not going to be able to finish the game. Then I can return something I don't like.
Exactly.
There was some concern about whether, because there are a few games out there that are more artistic, that actually have less than 2 hours of gameplay to them. And there was some concern that this might be, abused to the point that these poor guys will never actually make any money, because if your content has less than 2 hours of gameplay, someone's going to buy it, play it, and then return it, and as they refer to it as a glorified rental policy. But I agree with the others who have looked at this. If you have created a game that is quality, people aren't going to just simply return it. They're going to retain it because they want to support your vision, and that they want to support you going ahead and making more games.
And of course, there are going to be people who are going to abuse the system. There are going to be people who play it, enjoy it, and then return it. But there's going to be people...
Yeah.
They're the people who'd pirate the game anyway.
Exactly.
You would never have made money off of them anyways, and if you did, it would have been an insignificant amount. So that the fear that this will be excessively abused, I think, is erroneous. I mean, you don't. This is a fundamentally valid and good policy that should have been in effect since the beginning.
Agreed.
And that now that it's coming in, there should be no one who has a fear of it, except for those people who put out shit.
Lettering ground. And let's face it, a lot of those games, the 2-hour artsy games, indie games, they already have a niche market. And the people who buy those games know what they're buying, and they're not going to be the kind of people who will want to abuse that niche. The people who are going to abuse that niche are the goddamn trolls, and you're going to find them everywhere. Personally, I am against piracy. For me, it's not an issue of sales loss; it's an issue of principle. So I don't subscribe to the you wouldn't have made money of it. Yeah, I know. So I don't attack it from that issue. I attack it from an issue of principle. It's like, I made this. I want to charge money for it. You don't have the right to tell me I don't. But on the other hand, I don't think that you're going to have an indie apocalypse where every indie game out there is going to get bought and then returned immediately. That's not going to happen, because the indie market... Oops, sorry about that. The indie market has attracted a lot of good faith. I know there's, morons like the Slaughtering Grounds types, but the people who actually create worthwhile games have made their name out there, and people know who they are. Like, for example, I would never even consider doing that to a War Jedi games, unless they actually produce a game that is like, oh my god, so buggy, I can't even play it. But they won't do that because they're War Jedi games. On the other hand...
Until Origin takes them over.
Until you mean Electronic Arts?
Yeah, sorry, Electronic Arts.
Yeah, do not besmirch Origin's good name. Let the poor dead rest in peace. On the other hand, what I want to see is how many people, if this Batman game is as buggy as the previous Batman game, I want to see just how high the return rate is on that. Because a lot of people will know, well, they didn't fix the bugs in the previous game, so why should I even have this game if it's 6 months from now, it's still going to be a broken mess.
Well, y'all have heard my whole thing about that game. But
this is why I like this policy, because this is putting AAA gaming's feet to the fire.
Yes.
Too. Not only the people who are exploiting the system by using recycled Unity assets, but this is going to drive the point home to Warner Brothers. Like, no, you cannot sell us a broken game anymore. You used to be able to when Steam had no return policy. Not anymore, bitch.
Or the Assassin's Creed Unity with all those... I know they've fixed most of the bugs now, but if I'd gotten the game the day it came out and I started playing it and it was that buggy, I would have said, no.
Exactly.
I'm returning this. I might buy it later when you fix the bugs. But as of now, I want my money back. I'm going to go buy a pizza.
Yeah. The whole concept of releasing a buggy game on day one is unacceptable, and I think that all comes into the whole day one DLC bullcrap again. But it's going, and again, Steam is not the only engine through which these things come,
right?
But it is a significant engine through which they come, and there is no downside to this. I mean, the companies might say, "Oh, people will be returning the money." They have to have played less than 2 hours and owned it less than 2 weeks. Okay, so number one, this is going to be your hardcores who are going to be playing it initially and looking at it. And if you're slapping your hardcores around again, they deserve their money back.
Exactly.
So now shall we move on to the Steam console?
Yes, let us.
CC.
Yes. Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, but as a good many of you, most of you were on Twitch, so I'm just going to bet all of you know, Steam is having their big summer monster sale right now. And I was looking at that, and I decided while I was looking at the summer sales to check out the new Steam hardware that's coming out. And I thought it was just Steam consoles, but I was wrong. They have a Steam controller, a Steam Link, which is basically going to be like Google Chromecast, where you can broadcast whatever's on your TV to your, whatever's on your computer to your TV. But it's going to be faster and more game-oriented, so you're not going to have to deal with the kind of lag that you would with something like Chromecast. They have the console, and there's also a Steam VR, which is going to be their virtual reality thing. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first of all, the first thing that you see is the Steam controller and their hardware stuff. And so it looks really, really cool because what they've got is instead of traditional joysticks at one point in the upper parts of the controller, they have these tiny trackpads that you can actually use with your thumbs, so you can play games that are not actually meant to be played with a controller.
Oh, nice.
With a controller. So something like The Sims, where you have to select this much and do this here, you can actually do that with this controller. It's going to be really, really interesting. Well, I don't know if The Sims will work with it, but I don't know what games are going to work with it. So if you pre-order now, there are a select few that are coming out on October 16th. But pretty much everything else is getting released in November of 2015. Mm-hmm. The Steam Link, like I said, is the thing that connects your TV and your PC, so you can PC game on your TV, which is really nice. Like Google Chromecast. What's interesting about these is that they're actually going to be available for pre-order at GameStop of all places, and that really, really shocked me.
That surprised me.
That really surprised me because Steam has been internet-based for so long. This is Valve. They don't really do a lot with GameStop. One of the purposes of Steam is so that you don't have to go some places like GameStop.
But
I don't know.
With hardware, it's
hardware. Therefore, I think this offsets a lot of their shipping necessities by having it available through a standard retail operation
instead of having a Steam store. Although, I would love to go into like the Steam store as a physical entity just to be in there.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's like any.
When is Half-Life 3 coming out?
Like, I feel like it would be kind of like Radio Shack. There's the three workers, and you walk in, and there's no one else there, but they all know everything.
I know.
You know.
I don't know what Radio Shacks you've been in, but clearly not any of the ones I've been in.
Well, the ones that I've been in have had a lot of workers and nobody in the aisles. It's really strange. But I was looking at it. I was trying to figure out what's so different. So why do I want to buy this instead of just using my Xbox controller that I hook up to my PC? So like I said, they have the trackpad, the Steam Link. The idea is that you can play all these games you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Now, these Steam machines, these are the consoles that we're talking about. And what's weird to me is that it's not all by one company. They're not manufactured by one group. You can actually get an Alienware. You can get an any of these number manufacturers. They're all slipping my mind right now. But you can get any of these other manufacturers of a console. And so there's like 10, 15 different consoles that you look at the different specs and you want. It means that if I want to buy a Steam machine, I'm going to have to look at the reviews for every single one and figure out which one I want. And I'm lazy, so I might put it off. Also, I don't really have the money for these consoles because they're like $800, $900, $1,000. But if you have that $1,000 to just drop on a Steam console, it probably won't be a bad idea. They're going to be using a Steam operating system. They're just calling it the Steam OS. And so it's working very much like the actual Steam on your computer. You can download things. You can play whatever you want.
Wait. A friend of mine just said, I own an Alienware Alpha already. If you want any questions answered, then fire away. And then he says, notice me, senpai. Because I didn't.
Notice me, senpai.
Notice me, senpai.
Where is he telling you this? Because no one's talking in chat.
He's not in chat. He's on Steam because he can't access the chat right now because of where he is.
Oh, well, true.
So if you have any questions, but anyways, go ahead.
Notice me, senpai.
Yes. So it looks really interesting. I want to see what the reviews are like for all these different machines. There's probably, every time that they come up with something like a new PlayStation or whatever, you have these reviews where it's like, oh, it's a great system, but the disc reader doesn't work.
Yeah.
It breaks after 2 weeks.
I'm wondering if this is going to be basically a glorified version of PSN or the Xbox Live, just in a PC/console hybrid type situation.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how this actually turns out. The final bit of hardware that they're advertising is the Steam VR. It's supposedly going to be releasing for regular use in 2015, but they haven't actually given any release date, so I think they're waiting to find out. They started shipping the developer editions on the week of the 5th of this month. Just had to check what month it was. Mm-hmm. And the reviews are it's funny because the only people who are actually allowed to post in the community section of that are people who have the developer section.
Oh.
And you have these really, really, really wonderful, like, well-written threads, and then you have these bizarre threads with really bad English that just say strange things. They're like, all that I see is white. Maybe I should plug it in. It's really strange. I don't know. So frankly, it's hard to tell how well it works because these threads are so vastly varied, and I don't want to discount the ones that aren't necessarily very good English because I know they've sent out these to developers in different countries who may not necessarily have English as a first language.
Right.
So I don't know how this is turning out, but it's their virtual reality thing. They've got this picture of a headset. You walk around and you have sensors, and you just basically walk around your room with these controller things in your hands. It looks really interesting and super expensive. I tried to figure out the differences between this and Oculus. I couldn't really find any.
P.S. Steam, we're willing to rent out Mouse to do some translation work for you.
Yeah.
I'm not cheap.
No, he's not.
No, but he'll do it.
But I'll do it. I totally will.
So, yeah, that's the Steam hardware stuff that I've looked up so far.
Excellent.
Any questions for my friend?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, how does it work, obviously, How well does it function? What's the difference between this and the PlayStation 4?
Should we bring him in at some point rather than having you type and
Oh
translate?
yeah, that's right. We can bring him into the next episode.
Yeah, let's work on that, and we can because we're running a little long.
We're tight. Yeah.
We're technically at 90 minutes now, so let's just bust through the rest of these, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, what's next on the line?
Right, moving over from games to comics, we have a Douglas Adams' Dirk Gently, Holistic Detective Agency.
Yes, this is a wonderful comic being published by IDW. It is written by Chris Riddle, and if you're not familiar with Douglas Adams' Dirk Gently, of course, everybody knows The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, mostly because of the horrible movie, but it's a wonderful book. The character is Dirk Gently. Douglas Adams wrote several books on him, and he's basically a holistic detective, which basically means he does not do the Sherlock Holmes things. He does not gather clues, but instead he tries to derive information from the interconnectedness of all things. He doesn't believe that there is such a thing as a coincidence, so no matter what happens, it will lead him in the direction that he wants to go. And, of course, this being something written by Douglas Adams, it's incredibly funny, incredibly witty, and I am happy to report that the comic is extremely faithful to the way the character was written. Of course, the first issue ends on a cliffhanger, and I immediately wanted to get out. This was I read it at 11 p.m. I immediately wanted to get out, break into the comic store, put my money on the counter, and take issue number 2 out. So it's that good. I definitely recommend it.
All right, next up is Jupiter's Circle.
Jupiter's Circle, and this is, of course, written by Mark Millar, and the art is by Wilfredo Torres. Now, this is a 10-issue companion book to Jupiter's Legacy, which was basically a story that dealt with what it would be like to grow up as, say, Superman and Wonder Woman's kids. Not those characters exactly, but the equivalents of that world. And this, Jupiter's Circle, deals with what happens in between the fight panels, in between all of the excitement. It's more like the private lives of the superheroes, the everyday lives, and what it means to be a hero in the Silver Age. This is 1940s, 1950s. J. Edgar Hoover is in this one, actually. The first arc, the first 2 issues, deal with a gay superhero and the fact that he has to hide that secret. It's not angsty, but it is problematic, of course, for him, being a period piece.
Well, there's a difference in making it realistic and making it just like some emo, weirdly cut Spider-Man hair. You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I know. It's a really good read, and of course, Millar does wonderful work. I have always liked the stuff he does, so I really, really recommend it, especially if you like the storylines that work on making a superhero human, to see what makes them human, what makes them tick, which is something that I think Marv Wolfman did wonderfully in the 80s with the Titans, for example. So it's like that. A lot less action, but it's very intelligently written.
All right. And this is probably going to spawn a bit of a conversation, but if it does, we're just going to go with it.
We'll just flow.
Justice League, Gods and Monsters. DC's...
I didn't hate it.
You didn't hate it.
I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was all prepared. I wasn't really sure what to expect because they told me it was a dark reimagining, but the art I saw was very much like the 90s DC animated universe art. And I grew up on that stuff, you know, every Saturday morning, Batman and the Justice League, and, you know. So it was kind of nostalgic for me to really see more of that coming out again. And yeah, it is dark. It's definitely different. I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that your Batman and your Superman are not... For one thing, Superman is not the son of Kal-El. He is the son of Zod.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And Batman is not Bruce Wayne. He is... I forget. Yeah. So, coming into that, I didn't know that. I was utterly confused.
My chief complaint with the Batman in this universe is that he's a blatant ripoff of Mobius from Marvel. You know, you've got the mad scientist who has accidentally made himself a vampire. So I have issues with that regard. I have no problem with the Man-Bat becoming the Batman, but I think that the fact that they went with the obvious vampire shtick was heavy-handed.
A little bit, yeah. Also, why is Wonder Woman being the daughter of Ares makes her a redhead? Okay.
Because
reasons. Redheads have no soul, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's the blood of the battlefield.
There we go. That's it. She's not a redhead. She's just bathed in the blood of the innocent.
God knows I've made characters like that.
She's fiery.
I don't know why she's dressed like she's from New Genesis, but
yeah. She kind of looks like she raided Big Barda's wardrobe and she forgot to put on the top.
That costume looked more Emma Frost than
she did.
Wonder Woman to me, but you know, even then it didn't really look very Emma Frost. But
if Emma Frost were a Celestial,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but one punch and she has like one floppy boob out.
I have yet to decide if I really, really like Gods and Monsters. I'm definitely going to keep watching it because I'm fascinated to see what's going on. I have yet to figure out if I want to recommend it to my friends and family yet. I think I just want to see what
they do.
What they do and how the universe turns out.
Yeah, that's fair. I saw the Harley and Batman clip. I wasn't grabbed, really, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, in all fairness, we've been pretty harsh on DC.
Yes, we have.
And Mouse and I were talking about this earlier before we went on the air. Next episode, we are probably going to come back and revisit DC in a little more balanced light.
Yes,
with some
they're
things
actually
that we
doing
think
some good things.
Yeah, DC's actually done some good things recently. And so we're going to come back and give them their due credit where their credit is due. And we might touch on this a little bit more, see how it goes. So, do we have anything else on Gods and Monsters in the meantime?
I'm just looking forward to see what else is coming down the pipeline.
All right, so now we have some quick movie news. And I'm going to say this right now because I don't believe in proper reviews without spoilers. So this will not be a spoiler-free zone. So
this is spoilerific.
This is spoilerific. So
if you care about spoilers from Ex Machina, Jurassic World, Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I would say The Martian, but we don't actually know very much about how they're doing the movie.
There's not much to know about Fantastic Beasts either. So
so if you actually care about spoilers for those, you might want to
stop listening and come back after you've seen it, and then we'll see you next time.
Yeah. But here we are.
Bye. Sad to see you.
We saved this all for the end so that we can go spoilerific. All right, so first up is Ex Machina.
Oh my god.
Ooh. That was intense.
That was a dark movie.
That was intense.
I loved it. Oh my!
I do not want to bring any potential children I may or may not have in the future to see that until they're quite older, like maybe when they're 35.
35.
It's not that it's particularly sexual or
gory.
Gruesome. It's that it's a bit of a mind fuck. And I don't use that term lightly because I really got so angry when Inception came out because I had all these friends come up to me and they said, "Oh, you'd love Inception. It's so intelligent." I fell asleep halfway through Inception, woke up, and still was able to follow it. Like, I did not think it was that complex.
Brilliant.
And it's not that... And the overall storyline for this is really, really fairly simple, but I love the way that they delve into the philosophical nature of what is life, what is AI, what is
consciousness,
humanity, what is consciousnness, where is this line, is there a line, or is it just some kind of a blurry sandscape of some kind? I really, really enjoyed it. If you like thinking, you'll probably like it, but if you just want to see things blow up, no.
Avoid it
if you're a fan of Michael Bay, this is not your movie.
This is not your movie. It'll never be your movie.
And if Michael Bay ever made this movie, I would be shocked because there would be like an entire army of exploding female androids running around.
What is it? What was it in Austin Powers? The booby bots?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The sex gun jubblies. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yes, pretty much. Oh, gosh. And it's... It really was quite a trip. By the end of it, it just wrenches your heart too, because you're expecting one kind of ending, and to the very end, it thinks like it's like it's going to give you that ending, and then it slaps you around, throws you out the window, and like kills your dog.
It's very, very suspenseful, and I love that. I love a good suspense movie that doesn't rely on jump scares or anything, because that's not really what a suspense movie is. I'm a huge fan of things like Silence of the Lambs, where there's not so much weird going on in front of you. It's just really disconcerting, and you just kind of want to back away. I really like this movie.
In all fairness, I haven't watched the movie. I wanted to, but I don't always have time to go to the movies, so I did read the wiki. But I always do that. I'm the type of person, and I tell this to everybody. You can tell me spoilers all day long. It is impossible to spoil a movie for me, or a show, or anything like that, because the more I hear about it, the more I typically will decide whether I do or don't want to see it.
So if I tell you who dies next in Game of Thrones, you're not going to be mad at me?
Nope. Because I've already read the wikis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I literally have to hold my tongue when I'm talking to my friends about the show or the books or whatever, because I've read the wiki. I know what's coming up. I haven't even finished reading the damn books yet, and I know what's coming up. So
I know what's coming out. Everyone's gonna die. Period.
Everyone's gonna die. Don't rush George R.R. Martin, or he'll kill another Stark. But reading through Ex Machina, just literally the Wikipedia plot line of it, I just wanted to say, M. Night Shyamalan, take note.
Exactly.
This is how you tell a plot.
This is how you deliver a twist.
You make it.
Yes.
You don't throw in the what the fuck at the very end. You litter it with what the fuck from the beginning to the end.
Build up to it, baby.
So by the end, you're just like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. You don't do an Agatha Christie, like the murder is suddenly revealed in the last 2 pages and has never been heard of prior to that moment. No.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not Agatha Christie.
Oh.
I mean,
No, Agatha Christie actually drops hints.
So it's kind of like Agatha Christie fan fiction. There you go.
Yes.
So, whatever. But I mean, you basically, you have it from the beginning. Is that the way it really is? No. It can't possibly be that way. And then it really is.
And then it really is. And you go like, ah!
And the fact that it really is what messes with you.
Yes. Oh God. And I don't know how wide showing this movie has had, but I hope it's had a lot of exposure because it deserves it.
So shall we move on to our next movie?
Yes, let us.
Jurassic World. Who wants to go first?
I liked it.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought it was fun. I liked that they actually tried to stay true to the feel of Jurassic Park. They tried to stay true to Michael Crichton's philosophy, the way that he writes about the world. It was a little bit preachy at times, but I find most movies to be a little bit preachy if they're if they make a point. And I'm a fan of Star Trek, so it's I'm pretty hard to satisfy that way. I either think it's too preachy or not preachy enough. There's very little in between for me. I really thought it was fun. It was cute. I was actually really worried about Chris Pratt as the main guy because he always plays these really goofy, really funny characters, and I thought that would not fit in the Jurassic World universe, and I was very, very not happy about that actually. But I was pleasantly surprised by how well he performed and the character. So
yeah, I'll be honest. I have two mindsets when I come into a movie. I have the first concept of, ooh, sparkly special effects. Yeah. Which is my 12-year-old adolescent that just loves to watch the special effects and just drool at them. And that's pretty much all that's all it takes to please him. Then there's the English major part of me, which sticks to the philosophy of, do not make me suspend my disbelief more than 3 times. You're doomed if you do, because now you've taken me out of the damn movie. And don't make the movie predictable. I mean, I'll be honest, Sixth Sense, I watched 30 minutes of it and knew what the ending was.
We all did.
Without spoilers, I knew exactly what the ending was, 30 minutes of watching, and that was it. And so, watching this, I'm like going, okay, I know who's going to die. Now that I've met you, I know all who's going to die. And I know more than likely how they're going to die. And maybe not know the order, but the problem is that Jurassic Park had certain plot beats. And Jurassic World hit every single damn one of them. You got the chase scene and the car. You got, the dinosaur versus dinosaur thing. You hit every single plot point. And I wasn't shocked by anything of it. The two children I wish to God they died. Didn't need to see them at any point in time. They were a waste of screen space. I'm sorry. You may be lovely actors out there, and you may have a glorious future in front of you. Don't come back to this movie, please. This franchise needs to go on without you.
They were better actors than some of the child actors that have graced them. But
that's true.
Their characters were annoying.
Their characters were not really the most necessary.
They weren't necessary
I would agree
at all. You had too many characters that you were introducing because now you're 20-some years later, so you don't have any of the original characters who've already been introduced, really. And you now have the children who spontaneously announce a divorce. Who cares? There's no emotional impact. The mother talks something about the older boy being terrible with the younger kid, but you never see really that.
Yeah, we don't.
You just see him kind of ignore him.
Yeah, he ignores him and eggs him into doing something stupid, but that's about it.
But that's regular sibling. That's not being mean.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I felt absolutely no chemistry between the two supposed sisters. There was a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted screen time on these people when you really could have been focusing on Chris Pratt, Claire as her own individual. And when she was going down the elevator at the very beginning and she was going through names and she goes, and I'm Claire. And I'm like, and you're an android.
Yeah. And I'm Claire. I was like, ooh, awkward line.
And the fact that, and then she kicks she slides the little trash can into the path before he knocks it over. I'm like, you're an android. You aren't human.
Yeah.
And I almost wish that at some point they would have ripped the skin off and Terminator would have been underneath it.
No. It's Ava from Ex Machina.
Oh, God. Send her out to kill the dinosaurs now.
No, okay. I know that a lot of people enjoyed it, but as I was watching the movie, there are some things that really do stick in my craw when it comes to screenwriters being lazy. And this is something I have in common with a nostalgia critic, and it's the tropes, very specific tropes. The whole, for example, the control freak who has no time for her family or children. And that's what Claire was, basically. And they telegraphed that so frickin' hard.
Oh, yeah, they couldn't have been more obvious about that.
And it's like, no, dude, she's a person. She needs to have more personality than her perfectly cut haircut, which was that was an awesome haircut, by the way. She looked like she looked like Florence from Florence and the Machine.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Like, the first thing that I thought when I saw that haircut was, damn, that's expensive.
Pretty much. And
you know, this blonde is not natural. If you can see by the roots here, you know, I know the value of an expensive haircut, but damn.
We know what your next haircut's going to be now, then.
So
Yeah,
I
really.
just think it's funny that when we all see these shows, the first things that go through our heads are different. Mine was, who writes the workers' comp for this damn place? Because I sure as hell wouldn't. You work with dinosaurs that could potentially eat you? No, we decline.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then there's, and she's the she's the workaholic, etc., etc. There was not a lot to her in that sense. If you think about it, we don't really know why she works for this company. We don't see what her emotional investment is in this company, outside of the fact that she's a control freak and she has to control everything. We see more of Chris Pratt's character and his emotional investment in the place than we ever do of Claire. The only time that Claire actually becomes sort of like not this robot is when her nephews, who are completely expendable characters, are in danger. The only reason they exist is to make her more relatable and less robotic, but that's not really fleshing her out.
I want to point out, it wasn't even when the children were in danger. The moment I thought that she finally became a human being was when Chris Pratt was being chewed on by that pteranodon or whatever the hell it was, and she pulls out the gun and just goes to town on it.
The moment she becomes badass is the first moment you go, oh my god, you're actually a person.
I still wanted her to rip off her flesh and terminate underneath it. That would have been,
I walked into the
at
movie.
that point, I think the movie would have gone into all stage of awesome. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah.
The truth is revealed, and she's going after the dinosaur alone.
I have come here from the future to correct this horrible mistake.
Skynet was actually a pteranodon.
I admit, I walked into the movie with abysmally low standards. I thought there's no way this is going to be a good movie. I'm just going to enjoy myself watching dinosaurs. And that's pretty much why, I think that's why I enjoyed it more than you guys. Because I walked in saying, this is going to be terrible. I just want to see some dinosaurs chewing each other. And I got that.
Well, my 12-year-old liked it. My inner 12-year-old was thrilled. I'm like, oh, dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the special effects were awesome. It's just that the story points could have been... It could have stood one or two more rounds through the great scripting device.
Yeah.
And visually, I wish that the big scary dinosaur had been less than, ooh, it's a T-Rex, but slightly bigger.
Exactly, and wider.
And more camouflagey.
And more camouflage.
More camouflagey. And very small spikes.
And that was the thing that pissed me off. We can't tell you what it's made of. Okay. This is when I went suspension of reality down the toilet. I'm like, number one, he pays your goddamn bills.
Exactly, you work for the man.
Instructions to make it. You can't tell him what's in it. No. No.
I can tell you why he couldn't tell him. I can tell you why he couldn't tell him. They probably had like some drunken orgy in the lab one night, and they decided to play bartender with the sample bottles, and that's what's in the dinosaur.
Well, but that's the problem. He's like, well, it seemed to camouflage itself. Oh, well, shit. Did I forget to mention that we put some frog DNA in it? yeah, there was a little bit of chameleon that we put into it. Yeah, we made a turkey bat make love to a seahorse.
Yeah, it's like,
it shot at us. Oh, we kind of put like Dick Cheney in there too.
yeah.
If Dick Cheney had been in it, he'd been using the death beams and shit.
Yeah, the second it gets out and starts killing people is the second that even if, for some kind of legal reason, you can't tell them what you're made of, that's the second that if you don't tell them what it's made of and help them do this, you get all the licenses you have taken away for ethical purposes.
Exactly.
It's like if you're a psychologist and your patient walks in and says, hey, I'm going to rip open this woman and it's going to be great. This is where I'm going to be. Here's what I'm going to be doing. This is the butcher knife I'm going to use with it. If you don't report that, you lose your license for being unethical. It's that simple.
And on top of that, they're like, yeah, the next ferry will be here in this much time, and, we have to evacuate 22,000 people. I'd be like, Costa Rica? Yeah, we need every goddamn ship you have.
Exactly.
And plane, and
bring me a fucking cattle barge.
They were talking about how, but if we close the park, then no one will come anymore. Look.
If they're all chewed on a little bit,
if they're all chewed on. Yeah. But frankly, I'm more likely to come to a park that will prematurely shut down and send everyone off the island than let me get eaten.
Exactly.
Well, and not only that, if this, again, I come at this from an insurance perspective. I'm sorry, it's what I do for a living. If my entire premise was an island filled with dinosaurs, the very first thing I would ask is, where are the bunkers?
Yep.
Where are the underground bunkers? Because I want to make sure that there is 17 feet of titanium and cement between the survivors that are going to have to be hiding someday and the pteranodons upstairs.
Yeah. You need an escape. You need a bunch of different backup plans for in case any number of different things go wrong. And
because they will.
The fact that Ms. Monty goes, this was what we planned for. This was an eventuality. I'm like going, in 20 years, you've never had this eventuality? God damn, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having had freaking Jurassic Park as your predecessor, to the point that a T-Rex was unleashed in San Diego.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
Verizon would show up and go, let's make something bigger and more dangerous and let it loose.
It's like, sounds like fun to me.
Yeah.
I can't imagine any corporate sponsor going, yay, more
Verizon,
cool.
totally. Verizon, totally.
And even for legal purposes, if you say, well, this isn't in the States, this is in its own island, it's its own country, it has its own laws or whatever, there's still going to be certain amounts of international law which they're going to have to follow. And that they're going to have to say, well, we should at least keep people from getting eaten.
That's a good idea. Now, the movie is not bad. It has those gaping holes in it. And again, I would have loved to see more of Claire as a human being. She does have her moment of awesome, which was pretty awesome.
Suffice to say, they've left the door blatantly open for Jurassic World 2. If they do make one, and I'm fine if they do. I'm not saying don't. If they make a Jurassic World 2, number one, eliminate the useless characters. We do not need to see useless children running around unless they serve a function in life. The children from the first one had a purpose.
Yeah.
These children didn't. They were just, we need 2 children to be in danger at all times. No, you didn't. The danger that the 2 children experienced could have easily been handled by Pratt and Claire. Or Owen and Claire, sorry. We're going to use their character names. You did not need the children at all. The entire tie back to the parentals in the U.S. or wherever the hell they were, the whole divorce thing, throw it out the window. That would have given you at least 30 more minutes to focus on these characters and their appropriate character development, especially Claire's, because she didn't need to make such a leap from one extreme to another.
It's like, oh, my hair is mussed. I'm a badass now. It's like, no, come on.
We can't go through this jungle with those shoes on, so she undoes her blouse. I'm like, he talked about your shoes, bitch.
I know.
Yeah.
You gonna take him off the
he didn't
throne?
have a problem. He didn't care about your shirt.
It sure wasn't an issue.
Although I do have to admit, I loved the moment where she lures the T-Rex, and she's running on those goddamn shoes. It's
That
like,
was impressive.
she is running on heels. My God, this woman is kick-ass.
No,
That
if
woman
she were
has
running on
gotta have
stilettos,
calves
then I'd have been more
of steel.
impressed. But
Yeah.
Calves of steel.
Calves of steel, and the Tyrannosaurus has to be on platform shoes.
Yes.
Oh.
But
he
so
was wearing
that's
flats.
Yeah.
Jurassic World.
All right, so shall we move on now that we've...
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
so we're going to cover the last two issues very quickly. First up is just something I heard while on the, listening to the radio. Harry Potter, the World of Harry Potter is getting 3 new movies based on the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them trilogy.
Right.
The first of which I think is coming out in 2016, if I recall correctly. And the reason I bring this up is because of the recent revelation that there is, in fact, an American Hogwarts, an American extension of Hogwarts.
It's totally in Boulder, Colorado.
Well, that's the thing. They don't know. It is based on indigenous magic. They asked J.K. Rowling, to give a little bit more details, and she said that, obviously indigenous magic is something that she has wanted to explore and incorporate. The problem is she could not give the name of the school because it would in fact reveal its location.
Oh.
And it probably has. It would probably be such a blatant name that it would give away what indigenous tribe it's associated with.
Like Canyon Wards.
Or well, I don't. It could,
Yeah.
naming it the Willamette School, and that would obviously tell us that it's here in Portland.
Yeah.
So she won't reveal its name, but she says it will feature prominently in the series. So, and as I understand it, this series takes place prior to Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's all I have on that. Do you guys have anything on that one?
I heard it was a TV show for a while, but I think they changed it to movies.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It probably worked better as a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And I'm actually interested to see if how the Harry Potter series had a lot of the magical monsters are all European. You've got your dragons, your griffins, etc. That'd be interesting to see if this series, since the magic is based on Native American magic, if we will see some Native American mythology there too.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I'm expecting to see Thunderbird or whatnot.
That would be awesome.
All right, and
cool.
moving on to our last topic of the day, The Martian.
It's The Martian. Again, I don't have a lot of information on this. It's because I haven't read the book that the movie's based off of. So it stars Matt Damon. If that's some people love that, some people hate that. He's Matt Damon. Matt Damon. But Matt Damon is an astronaut who is with a group of people all exploring Mars, and they have to evacuate Mars all of a sudden because of a very bad storm. And Matt Damon is thought to be dead, so they leave him behind. However, he's not dead, so he has to figure out how to live on Mars, how to contact Earth, and how to get off the planet. All with the only resources he has is the barren desert that Mars has, and whatever resources were left with him.
Duct tape and saran wrap!
Apparently, it's really, really a very popular book in certain circles. It's a beloved. Adam Savage, for one, has this really adorable video where he just gets so excited watching the trailer.
Well, from what I've seen of the trailer, he, as I understand it, only has something like 30. The place he's living in is only designed to support someone for 30 days. Mm-hmm. And the term he uses is, we're going to science the hell out of this. And then it starts... the very next scene, the first thing is, where the hell did he get all that saran wrap?
Yeah.
And then he has duct tape, and I'm like going, Jesus, dude.
If there's one thing I would bring with me in space, it'd be duct tape.
And saran wrap.
And saran wrap. I mean, I feel like maybe they have the saran wrap to cover holes or something in various things, because you can't get air through saran wrap.
Like I said, Reynolds Wrap must have paid for this entire adventure because...
We'll see.
But it could be interesting. I mean, I'm obviously judging based off of a spoiler. Well, not even a spoiler. I'm basing it off of a trailer. And I get
which is not even always accurate.
Yeah.
That saran wrap may be used earlier before they even leave.
It could be valid plastic for all I know.
I do have a soft spot for the thought of the Martha Stewart School of Spacefaring.
Yes, all of a sudden he's got, English chimes hanging and flowers.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Just
I would
because
pay
I'm on
so
a
much for
savage
that
planet
movie.
doesn't mean it can't look properly English.
Exactly. I made this out of bizarre creatures that tried to gape at me. Isn't it pretty?
It's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I use this from the flesh of my fellow astronauts. I wear it as a sarong.
And her name was Saran, so it all works.
That keeps me warm at night. So, anyways, we've gone for 2 hours, everyone. So
Yeah.
we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. As always, if you like what you see here, hit the magic follow button down below, and we'd appreciate you coming out and visiting more often. As I said before, I will be finding out whether we will be playing Star Wars tomorrow with my DM or not. If not, I will assume that the game is permanently over, and we'll work on some other Sunday programming to fill the gap.
Don't forget, Dodo, next Saturday we're doing the podcast on Sunday.
Oh, then there you go. So next Saturday will not be the podcast. The podcast will be on Sunday. We will
Sunday.
work out. We'll work. Is it going to be at the same time?
I don't see why not.
Okay, so it'll be at the same time, simply on Sunday next week. We'll go back to Saturday the following week. So just I will play with my little calendar. So watch my little calendar; it'll get updated.
And we do have. Shall I tell them? We kind of spoiled it, but shall I just make the announcement that we will eventually have the guests?
Oh, you've already told we're going to have guests.
Yes.
You said that kind of last
Yeah.
week.
Well, we do have a confirmation though. The creators of Quest for Glory, Laurie and Corey Cole, have agreed to come onto our show. So once the Kickstarter thing dies down and they're, working again on the... Well, they're still working on the project, but,
Once the flow
we
doesn't require their constant intervention and they're in
Exactly.
progress.
They will be happy to come on the show and talk to us. It'll probably be a full hour because they're amazing guests. So it'll be like a whole episode.
What we will do
We
is
want them to talk.
What we'll do is once we know for a fact what episode they're coming on to, we will in fact find a way to open it up to questions from you guys in advance, because it's kind of hard to do it on the fly. But if you guys have advanced questions that you would like us to pose to them, we'll go ahead and get all that together, and that way we can be prepared and have your questions ready. So we will try and involve you guys as much as possible. But as always, watch the calendar. This Monday will be more Aion, and then I'll be continuing with Thief for the remainder of the week, and then Bastion next week, and I forget what's the week after that. But hit the follow button and come out and watch us. And YouTube, this will be up on YouTube probably later tonight. And see you guys later.
Bye!
Bye!
You come back now, you hear?
Y'all come back now.